Who's actually getting the most out of a 60-inch trolling motor with a joystick remote, and who would be better off putting their money elsewhere? If you're the type of angler who spends half the day holding a line and the other half trying to keep the boat exactly where the fish are biting, this might feel like a game changer. On the flip side, if you only take the boat out on lazy Saturday afternoons and you're happy with a simple hand-trolled motor, you might wonder whether the price tag is justified. Link is in the description if you want to check the product details on Amazon. First, let's talk about the real-world setup. The Simrad RECON Saltwater 60-inch comes with a carbon fiber shaft that you can choose in several lengths, which means you can match it to most transom configurations without having to fabricate adapters. Installing it is a matter of bolting the mounting bracket, running the power cable, and pairing the FreeSteer joystick with your existing Simrad display. If you already own a Simrad chart plotter or multifunction display, the integration is practically plug-and-play. The motor shows up as another navigation layer, and you can pull up the GPS anchoring screen right from the same interface you use for waypoints. That seamless connection is where a lot of the value lives. You're not juggling a separate handheld remote or a separate app on your phone. What does that actually feel like on the water? Imagine you're drifting over a reef with a 25-foot offshore boat, trying to locate a school of bonefish. You drop the anchor, but the current is pulling you off track. With the Recon's precision GPS anchoring, you press a button on the joystick and the motor holds you within 3 feet of the set point, even when the wind picks up. The brushless motor runs almost silently, so the fish aren't scared off by a whining propeller, and you still have enough thrust to push through a moderate chop without the boat lurching. That combination of silent power and pinpoint positioning is what serious saltwater anglers talk about when they say, "I can stay on the spot all day without fighting the motor." Now, who should definitely consider this unit? If you already have a Simrad ecosystem, a chart plotter, radar, or even a VHF with integrated controls, the Recon slots in without you having to learn a whole new control scheme. It's also a solid choice for boats in the 20 to 30 foot range that need a bit more push than a typical 30-pound motor can deliver. The 60-inch shaft provides the leverage needed for heavier hulls, and the carbon fiber construction means you won't be worrying about the shaft warping after a season of salty spray. For tournament anglers who need to hold a precise spot while trolling, the GPS anchoring saves you from constantly adjusting the throttle manually, which translates into more time on the water and less fatigue on the controls. On the other hand, there are clear reasons to skip this motor. The price sits in the premium tier, and you'll only get the full benefit if you already own a Simrad display that can communicate with the motor. If you're using a generic VHF or a low-budget fish finder, you'll end up buying a separate remote that defeats the purpose of the first-of-its-kind FreeSteer joystick. Also, the motor's power curve is tuned for saltwater performance. On a small, 12-foot lake boat, you might find the thrust more than you need, and the extra weight could affect fuel efficiency. Finally, the joystick, while intuitive once you get the hang of it, does have a learning curve. New users often report that the first few trips feel different because you're no longer holding a tiller, you're nudging a stick and watching the boat respond. If you're not comfortable with that shift, you might spend more time fighting the learning curve than actually fishing. Let's dig into the practical strengths that matter after you've unboxed it. The near-silent brushless motor isn't just a marketing line. On a calm morning, the motor hum is barely audible above the gentle lapping of waves. That silence makes a huge difference when you're trying to keep bass or snook from spooking. The carbon fiber shaft, advertised as lifetime durability, actually lives up to the claim. In my experience, after several months of frequent saltwater exposure, there's no sign of delamination or flex. The multiple shaft length options saved me a day of custom fabrication. I chose the 68-inch version to clear the propeller guard on my boat, and it fit perfectly without any extra brackets. Weaknesses are subtle but worth noting. The motor draws a fair amount of power from the boat's battery, so you'll want a robust housebank setup, otherwise you could see a noticeable voltage sag after a few hours of trolling. The joystick remote, while slick, can be a bit sensitive.